Hey guys, how are you all doing? Welcome to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto's past will become his future, part 1. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, Kyubi-X. Link is in the description. Also subscribe if you enjoy the video. Let's start the story. All my life I had one simple question. Who are my parents? Is that so unfair, as to want to know who brought me into this world? But that privilege was denied to me because it was military classified information. What b.s? And that's when I decided, if Tsunade, Kakashi or Jiraiya won't tell me, then I'll just have to find out for myself. I knew this was going to be dangerous. And hell, I would even get locked up if I were to be caught, so that's not an option. I'd been planning this for weeks. There is a room in the Hokage mansion that contains all the lists of family members in all of Kohona, including the military classified ones. How do I know these things, you ask? Well, let me put it to you this way. It's always a good thing to have the Hokage look at you like a younger brother. She showed me all around the mansion, and I managed to get a peek at the room and its surroundings. Now I'm going to have to take one step back for those of you who are thinking I am acting strangely out of character. To tell the truth, I guess I am. But there is something about my parents, some kind of strange power that is filling me with this urge to seek and find the truth. I tried many times to get Tsunade and Kakashi and Jiraiya to tell me who my parents were, but they just gave me the same damned answer. That stupid military classified bull, and whatnot. And now I have no other choice. I am going to have to steal the information. Make no mistake when I say this is going to be near impossible to pull off. I have memorized the guard shifts, and I know how they operate. I have done a ninja's job. I know this mansion like the back of my hand. I know all the ins and outs, and now, tonight, I am going to find out the truth that has been denied to me for so long. I am going to find out who my parents are. I can feel the anxiousness pouring through my body as I lay out a black stealth suit that was given to me for my 16th birthday, as a present by no other than Tsunade herself. I wipe away a small bead of sweat on my head as I change into the suit and wrap the cloth around my nose and mouth so that all that is showing is my light blue eyes. I decided to take off my ninja headband to make it less obvious. I then went to my supply cabinet and began to pull out items I might need for the heist, as I chose to call it. I looked through countless smoke bombs, sleeping powders, tranquilizer darts with blowguns, etc. I chose to bring along 2 special cut kunai knives that were given to me on my birthday by Kakashi, as a precaution. I then tied a black bandana over my blonde hair to make myself into the perfect stealth machine. It was do or die, baby, and I wasn't about to let myself lose here. I needed to know. Tonight my thirst for knowledge was about to be quenched. I made my way down the stairs of my home and opened the door slightly. I peeked my head out to look for Lonely Wanders and Orienbu. When I felt it was safe enough, I dashed out of my house and disappeared into the shadows. But somewhere in the distance I could hear the thunder roll, and I got a feeling that something bad might just go down. Every time I look in the mirror, all these lines in my face are getting clearer. The past is gone. It went by like dust to dawn. Here I was, in front of the mansion where my parents' identity was kept secret. I couldn't believe I was going to do this. Here I was, a 16-year-old borderline jonin, was about to try to break into a mansion that had never been broken into before. I calmly studied the faces of the 2 door guards to find the right time to strike. I slowly pulled out my dart gun and slid a tranquilizer dart into the tube. I aimed the gun and shot the dart out at the guard on the left side. The dart hit dead on the right on the man's left thigh. I quickly reloaded and shot the other guard before he even noticed. I waited silently for a few seconds until the guards dropped to the ground unconscious. I took a deep breath and darted towards the front door. Isn't that the way? Everybody's got their dues in life to pay. I quickly grabbed the 2 guards and pulled them into the bushes where they would be safely hidden from view. I silently apologized to the 2 men and slowly opened the front door. I slipped inside and immediately dove for the right-hand corner because it was the darkest part of the room. I took a quick assessment of my surroundings and found to my surprise that the number of guards was more than usual. Not good. I know nobody knows where it comes and where it goes. I know it's everybody's sin. You've got to lose to learn how to win. I decided that I needed a really big distraction in order to cause a panic that would make all the guards run to Tsunade to protect her. I knew that this was a very dangerous idea, but I felt I didn't have any other choice. I made myself a shadow clone that looked like Sasuke and had him dart to the opposite corner. I nodded to him, and he took flight. He leaped to the top of the steps and gave the guard a quick hit to the back of his neck. After the guard was felled, another guard saw my clone and yelled out that there was an intruder. I watched as my clone ran towards the Hokage office, and I watched the guards give chase. This was it. I was about to find out who my parents were. Half my life's in books, written pages, lived, and learned from fools, and from sages. You know it's true, all these things come back to you. Anxiousness poured through my body as I made my way up the steps and to the left. I rushed down the hallway and ducked into the room where the family records were kept. I looked to the cage where the military classified information was. I crept up and saw that the guard who was supposed to be here must have run off to help Tsunade too. I grinned and used my kunai knife to pick and lock the door open. I could feel the excitement rushing through my entire body. Sing with me, sing for the year, sing for my laughter, and sing for my tears. Sing with me if it's just for today. Maybe tomorrow the good Lord will take you away. I began to look through the record labels and found information on the Hokage's families, on ANBU, but I couldn't find a file on my parents. Panic started to sweep through my body. Was it not here? Was it kept in another place? I began to tear through the files furiously until I found one unmarked red folder. My heart stopped. Could this be the information I was looking for? Just as I was about to open the file, ANBU swept into the room, as did Tsunade. My blood went cold. It was over. There was no way I could escape from this. Sing with me, sing for the year, sing for my laughter, and sing for my tears. Sing with me if it's just for today. Maybe tomorrow the good Lord will take you away. Who are you? I heard Tsunade demand in a tone of voice that commanded respect. I didn't say a word. I just dropped the file on the ground and fell to my knees. I lowered my head and saw that the folder was open. At the top were the words that I had searched for far too long: Naruto's parents. I could hear the sound of the ANBU's feet approaching, as my eyes frantically searched the page for my answers. And then, there they were, and the answers shook me to my core. I looked up at Tsunade, and I whispered, "Forgive me, sister." I just had to know it was then that it connected with Tsunade. I could see it in her eyes. I watched as she ordered the ANBU to leave the room at once. Dream on, dream on. Yeah, you and I have a lot to talk about, Naruto, Tsunade said calmly, as she closed and locked the doors to the room. I have all the time in the world, were the only words I could mutter out before I was embraced with a tender hug from the woman who was not only my sister, but my leader, as well. Now you know why I couldn't tell you. You couldn't be allowed to just be told who your parents were. You had to prove you were ready, and you just did. It's true, Naruto, your parents are. The fifth Hokage continued to embrace the young ninja, as she prepared herself for a speech that had come too soon. She looked the young man in his eyes, and took a deep breath. It was time to tell him about his rite of passage, and this would change everything. Yes, it's true, Naruto. Your parents are the ones you saw on the document. Your father, your magnificent father, is none other than the sensei of your sensei, the fourth Hokage himself. And your mother, oh yes, your dear sweet mother, was the sixth leader of the village hidden in the storm. I know this is confusing you because you have never heard of this village, and rightly so. This village is home to the greatest protectors in all the land, and so to keep it safe, it was kept an S-ranked secret among the leaders of the villages. The reason that we could not tell you who your parents were was because when you found out on your own, you were to be presented with an S-ranked mission. Your father was named Kohona's Yellow Flash for his incredible speed and agility. And now your mission is to become even more powerful than your father was. You will become silent as an approaching storm. You will become as loud and furious as rolling thunder, and you will strike with the power of lightning. You, my dear Naruto, will become Kohona's Yellow Storm. The woman stood up and eyed the young man carefully. His eyes were hazed over with a mixture of fear, confusion, and doubt. She was not sure exactly what was floating through his mind, but she could tell that he was not alone in that mind of his. She knew full well that the Kyubi was talking to the teen, trying to help him make sense of all this madness. Finally, the young man stood to his feet and looked the woman dead in her eyes. I don't know what to say. It's all so confusing. What do you mean that I will become Kohona's Yellow Storm? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it? I don't understand what is going on, the young man screamed. As he grasped his head, it seemed that someone else decided to pop up and say a few words to this so-called leader. I want you to listen, and I want you to listen carefully, woman. This boy is very afraid right now, and I don't know what he is capable of. It's too fast. I can ill afford to let this child get hurt in any way, shape, or form. I am going to study these documents very carefully, and I want all the information you have. I am going to use a very complex spell that will render this boy into a long state of sleep. At this time I will explain everything to him very cautiously, and slowly until he is ready to be awakened. When that time comes, he will be ready for your mission. However, this spell will render him completely useless, and will make him defenseless. I want your word that the best of the best will guard the boy until he is ready to wake up. And finally, I want your word that you will give me all the information you have that I need to teach the boy. So, do we have a deal? The horrible bloodthirsty sound of the Kyubi made Tsunade's blood run cold, but she thought that this would be for the best. She made an agreement with the demon, and sealed him away in the room with all of the information that he needed to teach the boy. As she dismissed the ANBU guards who were waiting outside, she beckoned for them to bring her the entire Hyuga clan to her office. She sighed, knowing this was going to be a headache in the making. She looked out her window and watched as lightning struck the ground with its awesome might. A small smile formed on her lips, and she felt, for the first time in her life, that everything was going to turn out okay for Naruto. Kyubi read intently. He studied everything until he knew it all by heart. A smile formed at the base of the boy's lips. This power the boy would receive would make the both of them the most powerful being on the planet. And once that happened, Kyubi would make his move and take over the boy's body all for himself. It was perfect. And no one was going to stop him, no one. There was a whole lot of anxious whispering and whatnot going on in the den of Tsunade. All the members of the famous Hyuga clan were gathered, and they did not know why. This was one clan that did not like to be kept waiting, nor did they like to be kept in the dark about an S-ranked assignment that involved the entire Hyuga clan to accomplish. The truth of the matter was, Tsunade was right next to the closed door to her den. She just wasn't quite ready to go in yet. This was going to cause a major headache, and she wasn't in the mood. "Tsunade, my family is getting impatient. Now why don't you walk into this room and say exactly what you have to say so we can leave?" boomed the strong voice of Hyuga Hiashi, the leader of the main branch of the Hyuga family. Tsunade jumped slightly and made a little eep sound. Those damned eyes of theirs really creeped her out. She took a deep breath and entered the room. She watched as the entire clan stopped talking and stared at her. She cleared her throat and chose her words carefully. "I have asked you all here to aid your country by completing an S-ranked mission of the highest secrecy. I am asking you to care for the body of Uzumaki Naruto, while his body is in a state of deep slumber, to meditate on new information that will ultimately change his life. Make no mistake when I say that I choose this clan, the best in Kohona, to aid this boy in his state of defenselessness. Yours is the only family in which I can place my trust to make sure that this boy doesn't fall into the hands of the Akatsuki. Will your clan accept this mission, Hiashi-san?" The entire clan began to murmur to each other about this idea. Everyone looked anxious, as their eyes turned to their leader, whose pearly white eyes were deep in thought. "So you're asking me to bring this demon into our home and care for him like he was one of ours? That is sheer stupidity. To think that we, the great and mighty Hyuga clan, would bring such a monster into our house. How absurd that you would even bring this up, Tsunade-sama. But if this is what you are asking my clan to do, the answer is no," Hiashi said calmly with a firm hint of hate in his voice. "I am asking you to do your duty to this village and its people. I am not asking you to take care of a demon. I am asking you to take care of a boy for God's sake." Tsunade roared out with such fury that it shook even the mighty Hiashi to his core. "Will not one of you take this mission and care for the boy until he awakens? Not one of you?" Tsunade demanded, surveying the crowd. Slowly and meekly, a small girl crawled her way through the crowd to the front of the room. "Hyuga Hinata will take on this mission for the leaf," the small girl said, stuttering her words nervously. Tsunade smiled as she saw a boy coolly and calmly walked through the crowd and stood next to the girl. "Hyuga Niji will also aid in the protection of Uzumaki Naruto until he awakens from his slumber," the boy said with a cool air of confidence around him. "I forbid this. Hinata, Niji, get back with the others and keep your mouths shut. You two will do no such thing unless I instruct you to. Do I make myself clear?" Hiashi roared to the two kids standing before him. "I did not realize that I needed your permission to be involved in a Kohona S-ranked mission. I thought that it was up to Tsunade-sama to decide that for us." The girl spoke calmly. For the first time in her life, Tsunade heard the girl speak words without stammering or stuttering, and never had she heard the meek girl speak so boldly. For the first time that night, Hiashi was stunned into complete silence. "Well then, it's settled, Niji and Hinata. I hereby place you on this S-ranked mission. I expect it to be completed successfully, understand me?" Tsunade said with a big grin on her face. Both teens nodded in agreement and bowed to their leader. It was about that time that Hiashi regained his composure and spoke up. "They won't be doing any such mission in my house. If you two want to play your little games, you will do it outside the household. And be warned, if you two go along with this, I swear I will banish you both from this clan. Do you understand me?" Hiashi said in a very quiet and dangerous tone. Both the teens nodded to him and bowed to him out of respect. This made Tsunade grin with an even bigger satisfaction. You defiant boy, you're dead. Do you understand me? I am going to unleash that seal and end your very existence myself," Hiashi roared as he undid the seal on Niji's forehead. The mark appeared, and Niji fell to his knees screaming in horrible pain. Out of nowhere, Tsunade appeared in front of Hiashi and held the man in the air with a strong chokehold. The pain ended for Niji, and he collapsed on the floor with Hinata kneeling by his side. "If you ever try that again, I will throw you in jail. Do you understand me? I will make you suffer if you hurt either one of these two children, and you will never hold a position of command in this village ever again. Do I make myself clear?" Tsunade screamed out in a voice that made Hiashi want to crawl under a rock and die. Hiashi was put back on his feet after he agreed, and he commanded his clan to follow him out of the disgraceful house of the Hokage. After everyone had cleared out, only Tsunade, Niji, and Hinata remained. A very special guest entered the room. Are these the brats that are going to be taking care of the boy's body? Kyubi said darkly to Tsunade. Yes, these two will be taking care of you in this house. They are the best of the rookie best, and they won't let anyone harm you or the boy. Tsunade said coolly. Fine then, I know all I need to know. And the stage is set. Lead me to the place where we will rest, and I will perform the spell, the Kyubi said, as he moved out of the way for Tsunade to lead. Niji and Hinata had been speechless until they entered the hallway. You're the Kyubi, aren't you? I think I always knew you were inside Naruto, but I could never be sure. But now I know it's true, the girl said in a very scared voice. Kyubi just looked back and grinned while he continued to follow Tsunade down the hallway to the last door on the left. They entered the room and looked around. It was a beautiful Gothic-style room with a lovely bed covered in black satin and cashmere bed sheets and blankets. Kyubi walked to the bed and climbed in. He closed his eyes and began to chant words from an old, dead language. The figure of Naruto began to glow a fiery red, and then it disappeared. The spell was complete. The boy was in a deep slumber from which only he could awaken himself. Having that task been completed, Tsunade gave Niji and Hinata a few last bits of information they needed to know for the mission before she left to take care of the monster headache that had welled up inside of her. But she laughed to herself quietly, for this was a night of headaches and dreams, but it seemed she herself would only get the headache part of the deal. Just her luck. It began to rain in Kohona that particular evening. Everyone on the streets began to run for shelter to avoid getting wet. Niji watched from the window, as one by one lights went either on or off. He sighed quietly, wondering how long this mission would take. The mission itself wasn't so bad. It was the fact that he had no idea what information was being related to Naruto through this dream state the boy was in. He looked over to the bed to find his cousin taking off the boy's shirt carefully. A flash of anger streaked through his white eyes, and he called out to her. What in the hell do you think you're doing? He commanded her. The girl jumped and looked at her cousin with a slight bit of fear in her eyes. He's burning up, Niji-san. I thought it might help me if I took off his shirt. The boy stepped away from the window and walked up to the boy. He peered down at him and saw that the boy's body was covered in sweat. He quickly put his hand to the boy's forehead and discovered that it was way too hot. Get a towel and a bucket of cold water. Rub the cold water on his chest and do not leave his side. I am going to go fetch the Hokage. Do not leave him until I get back. Do you understand me? Niji said, as he peered down at the boy one last time. Niji turned and ran through the door and down the hallway, wondering what could possibly be going on inside of Naruto, the lair of Kyubi. I don't believe you. It's a lie. It can't be true, Naruto shouted, as he held his head in confusion. Shut your insolent mouth, you little runt. Your father did seal me inside of you because he didn't want to burden another family. I understand that it is hard to believe, but your father did what was best for his country, and I respect that. But see here, you fool, if you don't shut up and listen to me, I am going to knock this information into that thick skull of yours. Do you understand me? The Kyubi roared out, becoming more and more impatient with the boy. At this rate it would take forever before the boy was ready to awaken. Naruto fell to his knees and wept. He felt so lost, so alone. His father surely must have hated him to force him to bear such a large burden. Naruto wanted to die. Every part of his body screamed to have the blood drained from it. The next emotion that flooded over him was hate. My father, damn him, I hope he is burning in hell for forcing me to live with you. Everyone hates me because of him, and because of you. The Kyubi snapped and hit the boy hard with one of his mighty tails. The impact sent the young boy back a good distance until he slid to a stop. You are very annoying, child. This will take some time indeed, the Kyubi muttered angrily at the shaking figure before him. Little did the Kyubi know that trouble was brewing not too far away. In the Hyuga manner, you will receive half of the payment now, and the other half when you finish the job. Don't forget that I won't have all three of them dead. If you do this for me, I will see to it that you always have help from the Hyuga clan when you are in a tight spot. Do you understand me? Hiashi said calmly, looking at the shadowed figure before him. The person hidden in the shadows only nodded slowly and held out his hand to receive the first half of the pay. The money was exchanged, but Hiashi grabbed the stranger's hand roughly. Don't forget that this doesn't come back on me or my clan. If you are discovered, run, and don't come back. You may keep the money, but the rest of the deal will be off. Do I make myself absolutely clear? The stranger pulled away his hand and grunted a response to the man before he disappeared into the night. No one opposes me and gets away with it. No one, Hiashi said, as he began to laugh cruelly. It seemed that he would be taking care of three birds with one stone. Back at the Hokage manor, Tsunade burst through the door with Niji at her side to find Hinata patting down Naruto's chest with cold water. His temperature's gone down slightly, but he groaned a minute ago and started breathing heavily. I don't know what's going on, Hokage-sama, Hinata said nervously, afraid that Tsunade would punish her for letting the boy suffer under her care. Stop your stuttering, girl. It's annoying. I'm not mad at you, so there's no reason to be afraid, okay? Tsunade said bluntly. Hinata nodded her head slowly and blushed from embarrassment. She felt like such a fool. All 3 people in the room looked at the boy on the bed, and could tell he was in some kind of pain. Then, suddenly, as if nothing had ever happened, the boy's temperature dropped to normal, and the boy looked peaceful. It was a ray of hope. It appeared that Naruto was beginning to understand what was going on. Tsunade hoped against hope that he would wake up soon. There was so much he had to learn, and he had such little time to do it. She just hoped that it wasn't too late. Everything seems to be okay, so I will be leaving you all alone now. Just to give you warning, I have assigned 4 other people to stand guard with you. Tenten, Lee, Sakura, and Sasuke will be joining you in about 10 minutes, so you two can get some rest. That's all for now, Tsunade said, and with that, she left them alone again. 10 minutes passed like seconds, and the 4 people walked into the room. Sakura wailed out, and ran to Naruto's side. Tenten and Lee went over to Neji, and Sasuke just snorted, and sat in a dark corner. Hinata went over, and was kneeled by Sakura at Naruto's side. Sakura looked over at Hinata, and began to drill her with questions. What's wrong with Naruto? Why won't he wake up? Why weren't we informed right away? Why are you and Neji assigned to guard him? Is Naruto in a coma? Were among just some of the few questions that rocketed out of Sakura's mouth before Sasuke put in his 2 cents. Why don't you just shut up for a second, and let the girl talk, for God's sake? With that, Sakura's mouth was snapped shut, and all eyes fell on Hinata. She began to get nervous, and then she imagined that Naruto was standing right beside her, encouraging her to be strong. She began to speak softly. Naruto, as some of you know or don't know, is the vessel of the demon Kyubi. Pending some new information that was disclosed to Naruto, the Kyubi decided that he was a loose cannon due to the fact that his brain was overloaded too quickly with too much information. In order to keep him safe, the Kyubi has put Naruto-kun under a spell that will cause him to sleep until he is at peace with the information that has been presented to him. When that time comes, he will be awakened, and will be sent out on an S-ranked mission that will put him away from Kohona for a time span of about 3 to 4 years. As you well know, S-ranked missions are top secret information, and I have no idea what it will involve, so don't ask Sakura. Other than that, you all know what I know, so there are no secrets now. Sakura gave out some points that she found to be of high importance. 1. Hinata had a huge crush on Naruto. 2. Naruto's special abilities that she had noticed over time were due to the Kyubi inside of him. 3. Naruto was going to be going away for a long time very soon. 4. Hinata was a very smart young girl who was able to speak so eloquently. 5. Naruto now had information that would probably change him forever. These points weren't in any order of importance. She just found them all to be very important to her. Everyone else remained silent, as they digested the information for themselves. It was at this time of thinking that Sakura gazed out the window, and saw a figure staring at them. Her eyes went wide, as saucer pans, and she screamed out bloody murder. The figure jolted at being discovered, and began to ascend to the rooftop. Neji, Lee, and Sasuke reacted with lightning speed, and were at the window in a heartbeat. They instructed the girls to stay by Naruto's side while they ran the spy down. All the boys went out the window, and began to ascend to the rooftops. The girls all huddled around Naruto's body, and pulled out kunai knives. Little did they know just how outnumbered they were. On the rooftops, all 3 boys thought the same thing at the exact same time. Damn it, this guy's fast. They hopped from rooftop to rooftop trying to catch up with the man who was spying on them. Finally, the boys saw some relief, ANBU squads, and saw the chase on the rooftops, and caught up. They had the man surrounded. The man fell to his knees, and didn't even try to put up a struggle. The boys walked up to him, and pulled off his mask. He was a boy no more than their age. He had on a headband from the sand with a scratch through the symbol. Akatsuki, this wasn't good. You may have caught me, but it doesn't matter, that boy is the target. And all those poor girls you left alone in that room are all dead. Do you hear me? Lord Itachi never lets his prey go cuckoo, the boy said with such pitiful hate in his voice that it made them all sick to their stomachs. Sasuke grabbed the boy by his collar, and shook him violently, demanding to know why his brother was here, and what he wanted with Naruto. The Hyuga clan paid us plenty. The mission was to get rid of Hyuga Neji, Hyuga Hinata, and Uzumaki Naruto. And the best part of it all was, Lord Itachi would have his hands on the demon brat, and the Akatsuki would be plenty happy with us. The boy muttered before Sasuke snapped his neck with a quick flick of his wrists. My family? They're going to regret this, Neji said with clenched fists. The 3 boys rushed back for the room, hoping that they weren't too late. Damn it, this isn't good, Sasuke thought, as the 3 boys rushed back to the bedroom where Naruto was sleeping. Why has my brother come back? Is it for the Nine Tails? Could that be what this is all about? Itachi, this time I will kill you, Sasuke muttered under his breath, as the Hokage manor came into sight. All 3 boys were filled with a horrible fear when they heard 3 feminine voices scream out in pain. They all rushed for the window, but stopped at its ledge. They all knew that good ninjas didn't rush into a situation unprepared, but the next comment that was made pushed them over the edge. Coo, that's right, you miserable wretches, wallow in your sorrow and agony, none of you will ever get in the way again, said the cold voice of Itachi. The boys' bodies were filled with rage. They burst into the room and saw the 3 girls laid out on the floor. A horrible, blank, and empty stare was in their eyes. All 3 boys looked over to the bed. There he was. The infamous Itachi was standing over Naruto. Itachi was stretching his hands out to the boy when he looked over his back, and the 3 boys, and grinned. All 3 boys to their battle stances. Sasuke reminded Lee and Neji not to look into his brother's eyes unless they wanted to end up like the girls on the floor. Neji and Lee did as they were told, and kept their eyes off the man, but Sasuke merely smiled as he whispered something that filled Itachi's eyes with pure shock. It's over, Itachi, let's finish this. No bloodline use. Let's do this ninja to ninja. Itachi thought it over for a few seconds before he turned fully and looked down at his brother. He merely smiled and was gone in a flash. He reappeared behind Sasuke and whispered a few words into his ear. After that, he was gone again, this time for good. Lee and Neji walked over to Sasuke and asked what that was all about. Sasuke shrugged it off and ran to the 3 girls. The other 2 followed suit, and together they picked up the girls to take them to Tsunade. Shouldn't one of us stay here just in case? Neji asked curiously. Don't worry about it, Neji, no one else is going to bother Naruto this night. But make no mistake, there is trouble brewing. The 3 boys took the girls to Tsunade's office, hoping she was still there after all the ruckus. Little did they know that, as much that was going on here, it was nothing compared to what was going on inside the body of Naruto. Kyubi's lair. Think about it, child. You now know everything you need to know. All I am asking for is a little room to breathe. It does get rather cramped in here, you know, the Kyubi said to the boy in as soft a tone as he could manage. How do I know that if I do this that you won't just take over completely? Naruto asked the great beast cautiously. The Kyubi took a great deal of time to think about a solution to this problem, and suddenly it hit him. Here is my offer. I will teach you a very special arcane spell that is used to seal up demonic powers. By doing this you will be able to keep my in check simply with your mind. If I were to get out of control, all you would have to think was to stop me, and the arcane collar would render me powerless to you. Do we have a deal? Kyubi asked boldly. First you teach me the spell, second I perform the spell, third I test the spell, and if it all checks out, then I will destroy the seal, and we will merge. Now I get to ask you, do we have a deal? Naruto said, looking the demon right in the eyes. The Kyubi thought it over, and nodded in agreement. The next few hours were spent teaching the boy the spell. Once he had it down, he performed the ceremony. A giant light blue collar formed around the Ninetales' neck, and it was ready to be tested. The boy thought about making the Kyubi powerless, and the collar showed its awesome might. The blue orbs that connected it began to glow, and it shot out ice blue electricity that put the demon on the ground. Satisfied that spell worked, Naruto told the Kyubi it was time to wake up and find out how to undo the seal. No truer words have ever been spoken than when Sasuke said that trouble was brewing. You left him alone and defenseless after such an attack. A furious Tsunade screeched at 3 very scared-looking boys. Hokage-sama, if I may be so bold, I would like to point out that Naruto is in no immediate danger. Let's just say that my older brother is kind of like his dark guardian angel, Sasuke said sheepishly. What kind of nonsense are you talking about? The powerful woman demanded of the raven-haired boy. My brother said that until his purpose was fulfilled, that no one would touch Naruto, as long as he had breath in his body, Sasuke said slowly. Tsunade thought this information over, and wondered why Itachi would take an interest in the boy that wasn't made out of pure hate. But right now she had to put those thoughts on the back burner. Thank you for bringing me the girls. I will see to it that they receive immediate medical attention. Now I want you 3 to report back to Naruto's room immediately. No sooner had Tsunade uttered those words than did the room receive a cool rush of air, and the 3 boys were gone. Tsunade called for a couple of ANBU soldiers to take the girls to the hospital and put them in a sleeping ward until they awakened. She then stood up and prepared to go check on the boys and Naruto. Tsunade received quite a shock when she opened the door. All 3 boys were staring at her wide-eyed. Tsunade immediately sensed that something was wrong. What's wrong? Tell me, Tsunade demanded of the 3 boys. He's gone, he's not in his room, oh god, Neji said with a look of fear all over his face. Oh my god, no, Tsunade said, fearing the worst. She ran for Naruto's room, but stopped short when she heard chanting in the record room. She quietly opened up the door just enough to peek in, and saw Naruto on his knees with his back to her. Her eyes scanned the floor, and she gasped in surprise. He was standing in the middle of a pentagram. Whatever he was doing, it reeked of evil. She began to listen to his chanting, and a fear flooded her body that almost sent her into shock. He was chanting the reverse to the seal on the monster inside of him. He was unleashing the Kyubi. The demon had tricked her, and now it might be their downfall. She burst in the room and screamed for him to stop, but it was too late. An eerie pale lavenderish chakra formed around the seal, and began to fizzle away. The effects on Naruto's body were immediate. He instantly grew, and was at least 4 inches taller. His once blonde hair was now infused with an orange red HEW that looked like a light shade of fox fur. The whisker marks on his face grew more noticeable, and his canine teeth grew longer and sharper. His nails also became longer and sharper, but he had the ability to retract his nails to their normal state at any time. But the two most noticeable changes were that his body had become more toned, and the other one was that his eyes, though still blue, looked more like fox eyes than human ones. The figure stood to his feet slowly, and turned to face the hiding Tsunade. He saw her peeking in through the door, and smiled. "Naruto, is that you?" Tsunade asked, her hand going to a hidden kunai holster just in case things went down. "Don't worry, Tsunade, I'm still in control. I just merged with him to become stronger. But I've got him on what you could call a short leash. He will play by my rules, as long as I am still alive, so you need not worry about that." The new Naruto spoke slowly. Tsunade noticed that his voice had changed. As well, it was deeper, and had a hint of darkness to it. "How do I know that you're not just a Kyubi trying to trick me?" Tsunade asked, pushing the door all the way open. "If the Kyubi were in complete control right now, you would be dead, you know it. And so do I, old hag," Naruto said with a hint of sarcasm in his voice. Tsunade twitched at being called an old hag, but shrugged it off, and ran to the boy. She embraced him in a deep hug, and her heart leapt for you when he hugged her back. And yet sadness hit her heart, for she knew he was ready for a mission that would send him away for many years. She knew that the mission called for him to be alone, but they would just have to deal with company, for she refused to let him wander on his own. "Naruto, I want you to go home, and take care of whatever you need to take care of. I will give you 1 week before I send you away on your mission. In that time you will not be disturbed by missions or anything. This time will be for you to do whatever you have to do to prepare yourself for a very long absence from Kohona. I expect to see you back here in a week." Dismissed. Naruto yelled out a hi, and was gone in an instant. Right. As Naruto left, Neji, Lee, and Sasuke burst into the room asking if she had found Naruto yet. She told them yes, and that the mission was a success. She told them to take the rest of the day off, and then go to the hospital to watch over the girls during the night. They all bowed to her, and were gone. Tsunade decided that she needed some medicine, and alcohol, because she knew trouble was still brewing, but just what that trouble was she would not say. All that mattered was that Naruto was safe, for now. The events of the day hit her like a 10-pound hammer, and she decided to do what any mature, responsible leader would do. She took a well-earned nap. Naruto walked into his apartment, and immediately went to his room. He shed the clothes he was wearing, and searched through his closet for a suit he bought about 4 months ago for no reason at all. He tried to put on the clothes, but he realized he was too tall for them now. He scowled, and put his old clothes back on. It was time for him to go shopping, because even the clothes he had on now were much too small. He went to a hanging picture of his team on the wall, and took it off its hook. He set it down, and revealed a safe installed into the wall. He smirked at this. Even he was smart enough to hide his valuables where the villagers couldn't steal them. He put in the combination, and pulled out a credit card. He decided that it would be a good idea to put his funds in Tsunade's secret bank account, and it was a smart move indeed. He put the card in his pocket, and locked the safe back up. He slowly walked to his door, and stepped outside. It was going to be a busy day in the dreaded marketplace of Kohona Square. Naruto did all of his shopping, as quickly as possible, but the Kyubi made sure that everything Naruto bought would suit both of their personalities. The main part of his wardrobe included a variety of dark and light-colored clothes that fit together nicely. The last thing he bought on his way out was a pair of black dress pants, a black button-up silk shirt, a black silk tie, a pair of black dress socks, and a pair of black dress shoes. He then took the stuff back to his house, and put everything away. He decided that what he had planned for today would have to wait, for now, he had a dreaded house to clean up. At the hospital, Sakura, Tenten, and Hinata all woke up screaming, which caused Neji, Sasuke, and Lee to jump almost out of their skins. The 3 boys ran to the girls, and embraced them in hugs, whispering words of comfort to them. After about 10 minutes of this exchange, the girls had finally calmed down, and they all asked the boys one simple question: "Where is Naruto?" The boys explained the situation to the girls, and they all decided that they should go give him a visit. So together they all got up, left the hospital, and went off towards Naruto's apartment. At Naruto's apartment, Naruto by now had taken off his shirt, and sweat was dripping down his muscular body. How he had collected so much stuff in 16 years he would never know. All he did know was that this was a near impossible task to finish by himself. He had started about 2 hours ago, and he still hadn't even finished his bedroom, which was the first room he had started in. He was just about to get started again when he heard a knock at his door. Forgetting that he had flung off his shirt long ago, he walked to the door, and opened it to see Neji, Lee, Sasuke, Sakura, Tenten, and Hinata standing at his door looking at him with large eyes. The boy's POV. The first thing the boys noticed was that his body had undergone a massive transformation. The once short boy was now standing at eye level with them. His body was toned to perfection, and it was clear his strength had grown at least 100-fold. The next thing they noticed was his appearance. They eyed his new hair color, and then saw his eyes. Those eyes looked almost evil. And yet, there was something in them that put the boys at peace, like they knew that he would never betray them. The boys pieced it together very quickly. He had merged with the Kyubi, and he had broken the seal. The trust they had in him just seconds ago was shattered, and was replaced by fear. How could the Hokage let him go in this condition? What if the Kyubi was in complete control, and was just making it seem like Naruto was pulling the strings? They put their hands to their kunai holsters, ready for anything. The girl's POV. The first thing the girl noticed was that Naruto had suddenly grown into a very sexy guy. His muscles were perfectly toned, and his body was like that of pure perfection. They looked up, and loved the now reddish/orangish/yellowish hair because it was unique. They looked into those fox-like eyes, and found themselves strangely aroused by them. The last thing they took note of was that he had grown taller, which made him even sexier. The girls didn't even stop to think that the fox might have taken over his body. They were too preoccupied with his sexiness to even think about anything else. "What have you done with the Naruto demon?" The boys shouted out at once, reading for a battle. The word demon made the girls jump when the conclusion that the boys had come up with dawned upon them. Kyubi isn't in control, guys. I'm still me. The only difference now is that Kyubi and I have formed together into one body, instead of him being locked in a cage. Now my flesh and blood is his prison. You guys have to believe me, Naruto said, fear spreading into his eyes. I don't believe you. Prove to me that you are still Naruto, Sasuke said, as he pulled out a kunai knife slowly. Naruto fell to his knees and held his hands behind his back. He knew there was no way to prove that he was still in control, so he thought of something else instead. He had to trust his teammate, and hope that his teammate would trust him. If you don't believe I am in control, kill me now. I won't stop you. I even have my hands behind my back. There is no way I can truly prove to you that I am still in control, so you will either have to trust me or kill me. Do as you wish, Sasuke. Like I said, I will not stop you, Naruto said, as he hung his head waiting for a death blow to hit him, but that hit never came. You had us all worried there for a moment, Dobe, Sasuke said slowly, as he put his kunai knife away. Naruto looked at them all. The girls were in tears from the words that Naruto spoke, and the boys looked like they had regained their trust in him. It was then that Neji asked a question that was bugging him. Why are you all sweaty? You've been working out or something? Naruto looked down at himself and laughed. He explained that he was cleaning his house, and it was a lot more work than he expected. The 3 boys and 3 girls huddled together and began to discuss something, leaving Naruto out of the conversation. Naruto just sat there with a puzzled expression on his face until they broke up, and Sakura stepped forward. With your permission, we would like to assist you in getting this horribly messy apartment cleaned, teammate Sakura said with a smile on her face. Naruto thought about it for a little while, and decided that they could help out, as long as they didn't go into his bathroom or shower until he cleaned up some articles of clothing that didn't need to be seen by ladies' eyes. The guys laughed, and the girls blushed, and began giggling. Naruto grinned, and let everyone into his house. He decided right there, and then that after they were done, he was going to take them to a nice restaurant to thank them for their service to him. And so they all set to work in separate rooms. In total it took the 7 people about 3.5 hours to get everything picked up, swept up, mopped up, and scrubbed down. When they were done, his apartment looked great. When they all gathered in his living room, he decided to break the news to them. I want all of you to go home, take a shower, get dressed in your nicest clothes, and meet me back here at 5 o'clock tonight. I have something special planned, and I want you all to be here for it. Everyone agreed, and went their separate ways, but Neji and Hinata stayed behind. What's wrong, guys? You should go home and get changed, Naruto said, looking at the 2 white-eyed ninjas. We've been kicked out of our home, Naruto. We are going to move into an apartment, but it's not ready yet, and we will not receive any of our belongings until we move into the apartment, so we are not going to be able to go tonight, Neji said, speaking for himself. And Hinata? Naruto wouldn't have any of it, so he took out his wallet and gave them more than enough money on his card to go and buy nice clothes for themselves. He then told them to come back here, and they could take their showers here. Neji tried to protest, but Naruto just told him to pay him back later, and winked. And so Neji and Hinata went to go find the nicest clothes they could. They went into town, and both found the clothes they wanted. They paid for them, and headed back to his home. By the time they arrived, it was 3:30 in the evening. That would be more than enough time for them both to take showers and get dressed. When they walked up to the door, they saw a post-it note. Do you think they had those in Kohona? LOL. That told them to just come inside because he was probably in the shower, as they read it. And so Neji opened the door, and let Hinata in. He then entered himself and closed the door behind them. They could hear the shower running, and they decided that it would be okay to set down their stuff, sit on the couch, and watch TV. After about 15 minutes they heard the shower stop, and they looked up. Naruto came out of the bathroom in nothing but a towel that was covering him from the waist down. Hinata saw him, and immediately turned away blushing furiously. Neji just shook his head, and sighed. Naruto, oblivious to the situation, told them the shower was free, and that they could go ahead. Naruto went into his room, and closed the door. At that point Neji looked at Hinata, and very politely let her go first. She stepped into the bathroom, and found another post-it note on the mirror. It told her that a clean robe was hung up on the towel rack, and so was a clean towel. He told her that after she was done with her shower she could put on the robe, and go into the room next to his where she could change. Hinata felt great that Naruto had taken the time to do this for her, and it made her blush. She stripped herself of her clothes, and stepped into the shower. She only gave herself a 20-minute shower, and then when she was done, she came out with a blush on her cheeks because she was where Naruto took a shower every day. She quickly took the towel, and began to dry herself on when she looked at the robe. She let out a low whistle because she knew the robe wasn't cheap. It was made out of cashmere, and that was a very rare fabric to be used to make a robe. It then hit her. This was a custom robe that Naruto had made for himself. After she had finished drying herself off she took the robe, and put it to her nose. She inhaled, and sighed happily because it smelled like the one she secretly loved. She wrapped the robe around her slender body, and tied it tight. She looked in the mirror to make sure that nothing inappropriate was showing. She nodded, and her mind flew back to Naruto and that towel. She blushed, and furiously shook the image from her mind. She had to focus right now. She picked up the dress she had bought, and walked out, going immediately to the room where Naruto had told her to go, but not before telling Neji that she didn't need the shower anymore. She went into the room, and closed the door. Neji simply sat up, took the suit he had bought, and went into the bathroom. He saw another post-it note on the mirror that left him with instructions about a fresh towel that had been hung up for him on the towel rack. He looked at the door puzzled. When did Naruto manage to get into the bathroom in between the time when Hinata left, and he went in? He shrugged off the thoughts, and stepped into the hot shower, but things were getting steamier in the spare bedroom Hinata was in, the guest room. Hinata closed the door, and set the beautiful dress on the bed. She felt guilty for spending so much money on the dress, but she knew that she would immediately pay him back for his kindness. She looked over to the wall that separated her from Naruto's room, and saw a hole just big enough to peek into. Her heart stopped, as she stared at what seemed to be a peephole. She began to panic. She wouldn't dare invade Naruto's privacy, would she? Her body began to tremble, as she found herself, much to her horror, putting one foot in front of the other in the direction of the hole. Before she knew it, she was staring right at the hole. She told herself it was wrong, but she just couldn't stop herself. She got down on one knee, and looked into the hole. At first she didn't see anything, but then Naruto came into view. He was still in the towel, but he had a toothbrush in his mouth, and he was getting busy scrubbing his teeth down. He went to the sink in his room, and spit out the toothpaste. He grabbed a glass that was filled with water, and he rinsed his mouth out with it. When he was finished he cleaned out the cup, and walked over to his bed. Hinata felt her heart begin to race, as his hands grabbed hold of the towel that covered him. She tried to look away, but she just couldn't force herself to do it. Before she knew it, he hand flung the towel on his bed, and she saw him naked. She got a full look of him before she fell backwards, and scooted away from the wall. She suddenly felt like the most horrible person on the planet. She had just invaded Naruto's privacy after all the nice things he had done for her and her cousin. Then the picture of his naked body flooded her mind again, and she blushed 10 shades of red. She got up quickly, and put on her dress, trying to forget what she had seen. She would never speak of this again to anyone, and she knew that it was in the past, or so she hoped. When Hinata stepped out of the room in her dress, she found Neji already out, and in his suit. He muttered something about her taking a long time, and she answered him by saying that she was doing girly stuff. It was at the exact moment that Naruto came bursting out of his room, and he eyed both of them before nodding in agreement. Both Neji and Hinata were stunned to silence by how Naruto looked. Here comes the rundown. Naruto is wearing black dress pants, a black silk button-up shirt, a black silk tie, a black suit jacket, black dress socks, and shoes, a black top hat, which looked surprisingly good on him, and he was wearing dark black sunglasses that concealed his fox-like eyes. Neji is wearing khaki-colored dress pants, a white cotton button-up shirt, a red silk tie, a black suit jacket, khaki-colored dress socks, and brown dress shoes. Hinata is wearing a blue dress that matched the color of Naruto's eyes. The dress went all the way down her body, but had a slit at the end that showed off her right thigh. The dress was also strapless. She had her hair put up with a blue flower that matched the dress, not to mention Naruto's eyes, and she had on a pair of black heels, which had multiple straps that twisted around her legs up to her calf muscles. Naruto smiled at them, and told them that their other guests should be arriving any minute now. No sooner had he spoken the words that did he hear a soft knock at his door. Naruto gave off that signature grin, and went to open the door. As it was opened, it revealed Sakura and Sasuke on the other side. Here comes the rundown part 2. Sakura is wearing a strapless green dress that matches her eyes, has her hair put up slightly like Hinata's put with a green flower in it, and she had on matching green heels. Sasuke is wearing black dress pants, a red silk dress shirt, a black silk tie, a black suit jacket, black socks, and black dress shoes. Naruto invited them into her house, and said all they had to do was wait for Tenten and one other very special guest. Tenten and Lee arrived in less than 10 minutes, and knocked on the door, which was opened by Naruto. Here comes the rundown part 3. Tenten is wearing a very simple black dress with straps, and a matching pair of black heels. She also let her hair down, and it showed her true beauty, which was not missed by a certain white-eyed boy in the crowd. Lee is wearing an all-green suit with a green silk tie, and he is wearing black dress socks and shoes. So, what's this special occasion for Naruto? What are you keeping so secretive over? Sakura asked, eyeing him down, noticing that he dressed up well. Although she wasn't the only one to notice, everyone else also saw just how good he looked when he dressed up. Well, to be honest, the first part of this night was kind of selfish on my part. I hope that you all do not mind, but I have a 16-year-old funeral that I am late for, and it's time I went and put my parents' memory to rest. After that, well, you will just have to see what I have planned, Naruto said with that foxy grin of his. However, if it hadn't been for the shades, they all would have seen the pain in his eyes when he mentioned his parents. Everyone agreed to both parts of the night, and then they all asked one final question. Just what exactly are we waiting for? At that exact moment the clock struck 5 o'clock, and a knock came from his door. Everyone looked at the door anxiously, as Naruto went to open it. When the door opened, they all saw a man dressed in a suit address Naruto in a respectable manner. "Sir, the carriage is waiting for you, and your friends outside," the man said as he bowed. Naruto waved for the group to follow him until he remembered something very important. Before he could even ask, Neji handed him the credit card, and gave him a heartfelt thanks for all he was doing for himself and his cousin. After that little incident was taken care of, they all walked out to the carriage, and the man who was at the front door opened the carriage door to reveal none other than Kakashi and Tsunade inside. Here comes the final rundown, aka part 4. Kakashi is wearing an all-white suit with a red tie because it just seemed fitting for him. He also wore white dress shoes and white dress socks. He was, needless to say, very bright this evening. However, that mask was still covering that mysterious face of his. Tsunade is wearing a sparkling red dress with red heels. She is also wearing a pair of gold earrings and has her hair up with a red flower in it. Everyone climbed in and said their greetings as the carriage began to go towards the cemetery. Naruto had a window seat next to the door and was looking at all the buildings as they passed. All of a sudden, Naruto saw a shop that caught his eye, and he ordered the driver to stop. The carriage came to a halt, and Naruto asked the confused guests to give him just a minute or two. He jumped out of the carriage and ran into Ino's flower shop. He came out a few minutes later with some flowers to put on his parents' graves. He got back in and closed the door. The carriage began to move again, and they arrived at the cemetery in what seemed like no time at all. Naruto got out and immediately walked up to where he knew his parents' graves were located. Everyone except Tsunade and Kakashi gasped when Naruto opened the gate to the Hokage graves and stepped inside. Kakashi suddenly walked up and went to stand next to Naruto. Naruto stood over his parents' graves, and tears fell down his eyes. "I'm so sorry that I'm late, Mom, Dad, please don't be mad at me. I hope that you are looking down from heaven and watching over me. But most of all, I hope that I am making you both proud." After saying the words he had waited to say for so long, he laid the flowers on their graves. This, however, was too much for him, and he began to fall to his knees. Kakashi caught the boy and huddled him into his chest. Naruto sobbed, and his body shook with emotion. All the girls, Tsunade included, were crying, and even the boys had a look of sadness in their eyes. They stayed like this for about 10 minutes. They then huddled around Naruto, and they all comforted him until he proved to them that he was okay. He straightened himself out and wiped the tears from his eyes. He smiled at them all and thanked them for being great friends. He then toothed that foxy grin again and told them it was time for round 2 of the very special night that he had planned. Everyone in the carriage sat in silence, their eyes all directed at Naruto, who was busy staring off into the sky. Everyone scowled at once. Those darn sunglasses were hiding just what exactly was going through the mind of the usually loud-mouthed boy. But it seemed that now, The boy they remembered had grown into a man in just a few short days. However, one person in the carriage, tired of the silence, decided to break the ice. "So, Hokage-sama, Kakashi-sensei, how exactly did you get invited to this little party of ours?" Sakura asked, eyeing them both suspiciously. "To be honest, Sakura, we aren't even sure why we are here. All I know is that I received a letter from Naruto saying that he was making a personal request for myself, and Kakashi is here to join you all this evening. And to be honest, to turn down such an invitation would have been very rude, right, Kakashi?" Tsunade said, looking at the silver-haired ninja next to her. Tsunade's sweat dropped when she saw that Kakashi was paying no attention to her. He just had a bored look on his face, and he was reading those damned perverted books of his. Tsunade snapped, and gave Kakashi a few hits on the head before snatching the book away, and using it to make the book go straight to her office. Kakashi just sighed, and looked out the window. Hinata was busy staring at Naruto, and suddenly an image of him naked ran through her mind. She let out a quiet yelp, as a small bit of blood began to drip down her nose. Before anyone even noticed that Hinata had made a noise, Naruto was kneeling in front of her with a tissue, and was wiping the blood away gently. He asked if she was okay, and she nodded her head quickly, blushing horribly at his actions. This chain of events didn't go unnoticed by anyone in the carriage. What Naruto just did was incredible. Kakashi predicted that Naruto moved at a speed 10 times faster than his own when he was trying his hardest. Before any of them could ask Naruto the obvious question, the carriage came to a stop. Naruto opened the door, and jumped out with a smile on his face. He outstretched his hand, and said in a magical voice, "Welcome to the best restaurant in all of Konoha, the Blue Sage Restaurant." When Naruto said it was the best restaurant in all of Konoha, he wasn't kidding. This place was huge. Everyone's breath was taken away. All of them had heard of this place, but it was near impossible to get reservations, and, as if that wasn't bad enough, this place could rob you of all your money in about 2 minutes flat. Everyone looked at Naruto with stars in their eyes. If he managed to pull this off, he was a miracle worker to say the least. Slowly, everyone got out of the carriage, and walked down the blue carpet that laid the path to the restaurant. They were stopped at the door by a big muscle man that asked them if they had reservations. "Naruto, party of 9 for the private table," Naruto said with a smile that beat all other smiles. The man looked at his list for a second, and then eyed the boy. He asked for identification, and Naruto flashed him his ninja ID card. The man looked it over, and opened the door for them. "Good evening, Mr. Naruto, and welcome to the Blue Sage," the big man said, as they all entered the restaurant. The restaurant was laid out in a very romantic fashion. The lights were dim, and everything was blue from the carpets to the tablecloths. A waiter came up, and directed them all to a large table near the stage that said, "Reserved" on it. Everyone took his or her seats. The seating arrangements went as follows. The table is round. To Naruto's left is Sakura. To Naruto's right is Hinata. To Sakura's left is Sasuke. To Sakura's right is Naruto. To Hinata's left is Naruto. To Hinata's right is Neji. To Sasuke's left is Kakashi. To Sasuke's right is Sakura. To Neji's left is Hinata. To Neji's right is Tenten. To Kakashi's left is Tsunade. To Kakashi's right is Sasuke. To Tenten's left is Neji. To Tenten's right is Lee. To Tsunade's left is Lee. To Tsunade's right is Kakashi. To Lee's left is Tenten. To Lee's right is Tsunade. A waiter came up, and took their orders for drinks, and gave them a choice between soup or salad. All the girls chose the salad, and all the boys chose the soup. Tsunade ordered a bottle of sake to have a little bit of fun with the group of teens. The waiter came back a few minutes later, and gave out the drinks, soups, and salads. The waiter walked up to Tsunade, and showed her the bottle of very expensive sake, wanting to know if it was okay. She nodded yes, and asked that everyone be given a glass for some. The waiter just gave her a strange look, and did as he was told. She poured a glass of sake for everyone except for Lee, who declined, saying that when he drank bad things happened. Everyone eyed the glasses curiously, and it brought a big smile to everyone's faces when they all drank some. Everyone had pretty much had the same surprised expression at how good it was, but it didn't take long for the alcohol to kick in. A faint blush spread across everyone's cheeks except for Tsunade, Kakashi, and Naruto. Tsunade looked over at Naruto to see that he hadn't had a drink. "Is something wrong with Naruto?" Tsunade asked, looking at the boy carefully. "This stuff is poison, a horrible poison for the body. I will not drink it," Naruto said, staring at the glass before him. Everyone looked at him shocked. They never expected him of all people to react that way to it. They all looked at the glasses, and pushed them away, the buzz they had from the drink gone in an instant. They all sat in silence for a few minutes, as they ate their soups and salads. Just as they had finished, a band came on the stage, and began to play soft jazz music. The waiter came back up, and cleared away the bowls, plates, and glasses. He brought back refills for their drinks, and asked them what they would like for their main course. Everyone ordered what he or she wanted, and the waiter left. "So, how are we going to break up the bill, I wonder?" Tsunade asked, which made everyone look up. "What the hell are you talking about? I'm paying for the food. This was my way of thanking everyone for helping me clean up my house, so you better stop thinking about how to pay for the food, and start thinking about how to enjoy it," Naruto said with a grin on his face. Tsunade twitched at being called an old hag, but let it go so as to not cause a scene. Everyone began to chat engrossed in his or her own conversations, and Naruto looked around at everyone. He was glad to see that everyone was having a good time. His eyes finally stopped on the girl to his right. Hinata, she truly was beautiful. He hadn't noticed her much in the past, but the years had been good to her body. She had grown into a beautiful woman, and the dress she wore was really showing it. What was this feeling inside of him? It made his heart tighten up, and it brought a weird feeling to his stomach. It was about that time that Hinata noticed Naruto was staring at her, and she immediately looked down and blushed. Naruto was about to say something when the waiter came back with their food. The food was served, and everyone began to eat. Tsunade expected Naruto to cause a scene and begin to eat like a wild animal, but he surprised her. He calmly took his napkin and placed it on his lap, picked up a fork and knife, and began to eat slowly. Tsunade smiled. Maybe his merging with the Kyubi wasn't such a bad thing after all. It had apparently taught him how to act more civilized, though she didn't see how that worked. The jazz band began to play another song, and it made Naruto close his eyes. The song was soft and almost sad. His body began to rock with the music, and everyone watched him amazed. They had no idea he liked music so much. What he did next shocked them all. He calmly took his napkin off his lap and placed it on the table. He then stood to his feet and walked up to the stage. He caught the attention of the band leader and whispered something into his ear. The man's eyes widened, and he nodded to the young man. Naruto climbed up on stage and walked over to a man holding a violin. He whispered something into his ear, and the man gave him the violin and stepped back. The entire band left the stage, and Naruto walked up to the microphone on its stand at center stage. Naruto leaned towards the microphone and said, "This one's for my wonderful friends with whom I have enjoyed a great dinner with." With that being said, Naruto put the violin to his cheek and put the bow across the strings. Everyone looked at him amazed. To the best of their knowledge, none of them knew he could play an instrument, and they thought he was going to make a fool out of himself. Tsunade was about to call out to him, but he began to play. The entire group was stunned. The music that came from the violin was incredible. Never had any of them ever heard such sweet music before. The group began to look around the room and saw couples holding onto each other as they watched the young man on stage and listened to the heavenly sound coming from the violin. When Naruto finished his song, he took a bow, and everyone rose to his or her feet clapping. No one could see due to his sunglasses, but if they could, they would have seen shock in his eyes. He smiled and bowed again as the band came back clapping. Naruto handed the man his violin and thanked them all as he got off the stage. He went back to the table, and everyone was just stunned into silence. Naruto just simply smiled at them. At that point, the waiter asked them if they wanted dessert, and they all politely declined. The waiter then handed Naruto the check and walked away. Naruto looked at the check, and his smile disappeared and was placed with a look of shock. Tsunade felt horrible thinking that his bill was much too expensive for the boy, so she grabbed the check out of his hands and read it. The writing went something like this: "For giving such a great performance and entertaining our guests with your wonderful music, the check for your meals is on the house tonight. Also, if you are ever in need of a job, you can always come here and join the band. We will always have a place for you." The manager, Tsunade, smiled at the boy, who still had a look of shock on his face. "You did a great job, Naruto. You deserve this." With that, she stood to her feet, as did everyone else. They all walked out and got into the carriage. Almost the entire way home, Naruto was looking out the window deep in thought. "Did you guys want to have a sleepover at my house? I would really enjoy the company. It gets pretty lonely living alone all the time," Naruto said, a faint blush spreading across his face. Everyone thought about it and agreed. But Naruto made sure that none of them told their parents that they were going to his house to spend the night, that it would only cause trouble. They all agreed, and they decided that they would say they were having a sleepover at Ino's. Per Ino, they arrived at Naruto's home, and they all got out. Tsunade and Kakashi thanked Naruto for the wonderful time, and politely went their separate ways. Everyone went home to change and bring clothes for the sleepover. Hinata and Niji went to their apartment to make sure their belongings were there. After about an hour, everyone was back, and Naruto let them in. Everyone came in, and Naruto smiled at them all. He was glad that he finally had some true friends. Everyone looked around at the handiwork that they had done, and then their eyes went to the center of his living room. There it was, the item that struck fear into all of their hearts, the bottle for truth. And dare Naruto grinned at them, and dared them to come sit in a circle. With a bit of tension forming in the air, they all took their seats around one another, and looked to Naruto for direction. This is normal truth or dare, guys. Spin the bottle and ask the person truth or dare, then figure something out, Naruto said with a very playful grin on his face. Since this is my house, I will do the honors of spinning first, Naruto said, as he spun the bottle. It went round and round until it landed on Sasuke. Sasuke looked away, and Naruto asked him the truth or dare. Sasuke immediately said something he was going to regret. He chose to dare. Sounds of impending doom in the background grins. I dare you to kiss Lee on the lips, Naruto said triumphantly. Everyone in the room paused. Hinata blushed. Neji laughed. Sakura shot death glares at Naruto. Tenten giggled. Lee looked like he had gone into shock, as did Sasuke. Slowly, Sasuke came to, and leaned over towards Lee. Lee tried to back away, but it was too late. Their lips touched, and they both quickly pulled away, wiping their mouths clean. One thing was for sure, Naruto was going to pay. Sasuke grumbled, as he spun the bottle. It went round and round until it landed on Tenten. She looked at him shocked, as he casually asked her truth of dare. She thought about it for a minute before she said the truth carefully. Sasuke thought about it, and asked her what was the dirtiest thing she had ever done. At this, everyone looked at her with anxious eyes. She had a look of fear in her eyes, and then she got an idea. She leaned over, and whispered something into Sasuke's ear that made him blush, and look away. Everyone looked at her for an explanation, and she calmly explained that he didn't say that she had to say it aloud. Everyone complained, but they knew it was true, so they let it go, as she spun the bottle. It went round and round until it landed on Neji. She blushed slightly, as she asked him the truth or dare. He thought about it calmly, and decided to be bold, and go for a dare. She thought about it for a few minutes, and then she grinned at him. I dare you to play the rest of the game in nothing but your underwear. Everyone laughed at this, and Neji simply grunted, and began to strip. All the girls started whistling and whooping, which made him blush. These events fueled the fire more, and the boys roared with laughter. Neji grunted again, and spun the bottle hard. It went round and round and round, dizzy, until it landed on Sakura. He asked her the truth or dare, and she quickly chose the truth. The genius thought about it for a moment, then he asked her to tell the whole group her most embarrassing moment. She thought about it, and told them about the time when she had just bought a new dress, and the first day she wore it she slipped, and fell in the mud in front of a huge group of people who laughed, as they helped her up. Satisfied that her answer was good enough, she took the bottle, and spun it, and it went all the way around, and landed on Hinata. Sakura asked if she could tell the truth or dare, and unsurprisingly, she chose truth. Sakura grinned, and told her that she had to tell the group if she had ever done anything perverted. Hinata's blood ran cold. She couldn't tell them, not with Naruto present. He would surely hate her for what she had done. She began to sweat, and everyone suddenly became very interested in this turn of events. They all leaned in, and told her to spit it out. I looked at someone while they were changing, and I saw them naked, she said, blushing so much that they were afraid she was going to faint. They badly wanted to know who the person was, but they knew it was Hinata's turn. She spun the bottle, and it landed on Lee. She asked him the truth or dare, and he chose dare. She thought about it, and dared him to forfeit his next turn so it would keep Naruto safe. This plan backfired though, because Lee got to spin twice to see who got to ask truth or dare, and who had to receive it. His first spin said that Sasuke had to ask the truth or dare, and the second spin said that Hinata had to receive it. Hinata knew what was coming if she told the truth, so she went for a dare. Sasuke grinned, and dared her to tell the whole group who she looked upon while they were naked. Hinata couldn't believe it. She had fallen into a trap that had no outlets. Even if she accepted a truth now, it would be the same thing in the form of a truth. She bowed her head, and whispered out Naruto's name in shame. The room went dead silent, and all eyes went between Hinata and Naruto. Tears formed in Hinata's eyes, and she ran out of the room crying. Naruto stood up, and glared at Sasuke saying, "That was taking it too far." Sasuke then ran out after Hinata. Everyone in the room fell dead silent, feeling guilty for wanting to know so bad that they wouldn't even take Hinata's feelings into consideration. They hoped that Naruto would be able to convince her to come back. Little did they know just how much was going on outside. Hinata had no idea where she was going to go. She just knew that she wanted to run to a place where no one could find her. She was almost out of sight of the house when she looked back to see Naruto chasing after her. Fearing that he was angry with her, she sped up, and turned a corner. She looked back to see if he had caught up, and she tripped on a rock which made her hit the ground hard, and slide a bit. She winced in pain, as she saw a shadow standing over top of her. The figure bent down, and helped her sit up. She looked at the person, and it was who she feared it was. She was looking into the fox-like eyes of Naruto. Hinata, Naruto said softly, trying to rest his hand on her arm only to have it slapped away. "How can you even look at me after what I did to you? I invaded your privacy after you had been so nice to me and Neji." And now Hinata broke down, and sobbed hard, her entire body racking with the shakes. She gasped as she felt herself pulled into a warm embrace. The tears stopped for a moment when she heard his soft voice say, "It's okay, Hinata, I mean, it's not as if you looked in that hole just to see me naked, you were just curious. There is no shame in this, you just happened to be looking in the wrong place at the wrong time," Naruto said, holding her as close as he could. At this comment, Hinata broke down again and sobbed into his shirt, crying out that she was sorry over and over again. Naruto held her and stroked her hair, gently whispering to her that it was okay, and gently going shhh. After a few minutes of this, Naruto noticed that Hinata had stopped crying, and he looked down at her. She was fast asleep in his arms. He picked her up bridal style and began to walk back towards his home. He kicked open the door, and everyone looked at him, and she was shocked. He didn't have time to deal with them, so he began to bark out orders. They went as follows. Niji was to grab some of his healing cream to cover her cuts and scrapes. Sakura was asked to go into his bathroom and get some rubbing alcohol to clean the wounds. 10-10. And Lee were asked to grab some blankets off the couch and bring them to his room. Sasuke was asked to go to hell for taking the game too far. Everyone rushed off to do what they were ordered to do except for Sasuke, who was in no mood to go to hell. After about 4 minutes her wounds were cleaned and covered with healing cream. Naruto set her down gently in his bed, and they all helped cover her shaking body with blankets. After all this had been done, and Hinata was comfortable enough, Naruto asked them to go into the living room and do whatever they wanted until they were ready for bed. They all nodded and went out of the room, closing the door behind them softly. Naruto got down on his knees and took her hand in both of his own hands. He placed his cheek against their hands and let his eyes grow heavy. After a few short minutes he was asleep. The rest of the group stayed up for about another half hour discussing how they were going to apologize to Hinata for taking the game too far with her. After they came up with a great idea, they all went to bed. At the Hokage's manor. "You want us to do what?" The ANBU guards asked Tsunade, not quite sure that they heard what they thought they did. "I want you to dig up the graves of Naruto's parents and bring me their ninja headbands. I then want you to lay them back to rest just like they were," Tsunade said, making sure to choose her words carefully. "So basically, you want us to dig up the graves of the fourth and his wife? Shouldn't an undertaker do these things so it doesn't seem suspicious?" The ANBU also asked to choose their words carefully. "The undertaker has already taken off for the day, and I am not going to ask him to come back to work at this hour. This is a direct order from me, and I expect it to be done within the next 2 hours. Am I understood?" All of the ANB reluctantly agreed to the task and set off towards the graveyard. At this, Tsunade leaned back in her chair and sighed, saying, "Naruto, I hope you understand why I am doing this. I don't want you to be angry with me. I just want you to have what rightfully belongs to you. Also, I think it's about time I showed you that tape." Having said this, she stood to her feet and walked to the bookshelves. She traced her fingers along the books and found the video hidden behind some old books of poems. She set the tape on her desk and decided to go to bed. She would summon him in the morning and explain everything to him. She left a post-it note, "God, I love those things," on the door to her office, telling the guards to put the headbands next to the video and lock the door as they left. The ANBU got back, read the note, did as they were ordered, and went home. All of Kohona was now sleeping peacefully, for tomorrow was going to be a big day, and they would all need their sleep. Hinata slowly opened her eyes and looked up at the tan ceiling. The memories of the previous night flooded her mind, and it was then that she felt something warm against her hand. She looked towards it and saw a mass of blonde/orangish reddish hair clumped over it. She blushed and smiled as she slowly tried to pull her hand out from Naruto's face without waking him up. This plan, however, ended in failure. Naruto felt her hand shift, and his eyes slowly opened. He looked up at her and smiled, giving her a gentle hey. They stared at each other for a few moments before they both blushed and looked away. Both of them felt the same feeling deep inside of them, but neither of them yet knew exactly what the feeling was that was driving them crazy. Naruto stood to his feet and helped her. They both stared into each other's eyes until a small knock at the door snapped their attention. Naruto walked to the door and opened it to see Sasuke standing there. He received a cold glare from Naruto as he cleared his throat to say something. I'm not really any good at this, so I'm just gonna blurt it out. I'm really sorry for going too far last night, and so is everyone else. We tried to think of a good way to apologize, and I think we did. So if you two would like to freshen up, then please join us in the kitchen. We will show you just how sorry we are." Naruto still looked pissed off and was about to say something until he felt a gentle hand fall on his shoulder. He looked over his back and saw Hinata give him a smile and a nod that told him to let it go. He huffed and did so as Sasuke bowed and closed the door, leaving them alone. Naruto walked over to his sink and looked at the mirror above it. He opened it up and began to search around for something. He found what he was looking for a few moments later and handed it to Hinata. She looked down and saw a brand new toothbrush. She looked up to see a smile on his face that made her feel like an angel himself was smiling at her. He told her she could use his toothpaste, and he went back to the sink to get his toothbrush. She walked over and reached for the toothpaste. They both brushed their teeth in silence, and when they were done exited his room, and saw everyone crowded in the kitchen. They walked in, and their eyes began to sparkle. A huge amount of food was placed on the table, and it all looked delicious. Hinata gasped, and Naruto let loose a low whistle. Their reactions brought a grin to everyone's face, and Sakura cleared her throat. As I am sure Sasuke has already told you both, this is just a small token of our apology for what we did last night, she said, eyeing them both carefully. Hinata began to stutter out something about it being okay, and that there was no need for all this, and Naruto just drooled over all the food. Everyone sat down and enjoyed a nice breakfast that was interrupted by a knock at the front door. Naruto got to his feet and walked to his door. He opened it and saw a member of the Hokage's staff standing before him with a letter in her hand. It's a personal request for your presence with the Hokage in 10 minutes. She wants you to come alone, the messenger said, and went about her way. Naruto quickly scanned the letter and pulled his house keys out of his pocket. He tossed them to Neji and asked him to lock up the house when they left. He explained the situation to them and thanked them for a great breakfast before running off towards the manor. Naruto showed up at the gates, and the guards oddly just stepped out of his way, a slight look of fear in their eyes. He made his way up the stairs and knocked on the Hokage's door only to hear her come in. He opened the door and saw Tsunade standing up looking out the window. He walked in and went up towards her desk. His eyes fell upon the 2 dirted leaf headbands, and he quickly put 2 and 2 together. Tsunade turned and watched him pick up his parents' headbands, a glazed-over look in his eyes. Tsunade gasped as she saw tears form in his eyes, afraid that these were tears of rage. However, as she looked closer she saw his body shaking, and watched the boy fall to his knees as he clasped the 2 headbands closely to his chest. I have wanted these for so long, I will wear them with honor, Naruto said, as he strapped one of the headbands tightly on his right arm and the other on his left. Tsunade hugged the boy and held him until his tears of happiness ended. She then cleared her throat and said, "This isn't all I called you here for, Naruto. There is something you and I need to watch." With that, Tsunade went and picked the tape and put it on the TV. Naruto walked over to the TV and sat down on a chair. Tsunade turned it on and took a seat next to him. The TV showed static for a few moments, and then the face of the 4th Hokage appeared on the screen. The message was as follows: "My son, now that you have seen this tape, it means you are ready to begin your journey to surpass me. However, there is one test you must complete before I can allow you to go. Hokage-sama, third or otherwise, I know you are watching, and I need to ask a favor. Take my son to training field number 5, and use that forbidden. You know what I speak of, do as I command so that the yellow storm may rise up, please." The tape ended, and Tsunade turned off the TV. They sat in silence for a few moments before she touched him and used aid to transport them to field 5. She whispered that she was sorry, as her hands began to create seals so quickly that Naruto couldn't keep up. Summoning worldly resurrection, Tsunade cried out as a coffin sprang up from the ground. An eerie fog surrounded the coffin as the door slowly creaked open. Naruto gasped and was stunned to silence. This was his father. This was the yellow flash. Naruto was sure that his eyes were deceiving him. This couldn't be his father. It just couldn't be. He watched fearfully as the man opened his eyes and revealed the same color blue as his, the hair, these eyes, this feeling. It all came down to one impossible fact: this was his father. The man simply eyed Naruto and Tsunade with a look that was nothing short of amusement. He pointed at Tsunade and said, "You are the 5th, I presume?" Tsunade simply nodded, not being able to find any words to describe exactly what was going through her mind. But then, out of nowhere, she shuddered when she felt a bloodlust so horrible that it made her nauseous. She snapped her head towards Naruto, only to see him shaking in horrible rage. "You are not my father! I'm going to kill you!" Naruto screamed, as he rushed at the man who still had a calm and amused look on his face. Naruto stretched out his arm to punch the man in his face, only to see the man disappear before his very eyes. Naruto only had time to gasp as the man reappeared behind him and put him in a full Nelson-like move while wrapping his legs with the boys to keep him immobile. "Come now, is that the best you can do, my son? I am going to release you. However, this battle will be cut into 3 parts. First, I want to test your taijutsu skills with some hand-to-hand combat. Second, I will test you ninjutsu. And finally, if you know any forbidden, then we can go to that. All I ask is that you follow the rules, because this is more of a test than a fight. However, you should consider this to be a fight to the end if you don't want to die. I can't afford to pull any punches with you, son. I don't have that much time. Do you accept my test?" The whole while Naruto had been trying to struggle to no avail against this man who claimed to be his father. However, in the end, this test intrigued him, and he accepted. The man let him go, and Naruto jumped a safe distance away. In the background he could hear people coming. His friends. It looked like this fight was going to have an audience with the rest of the gang during the events of the past hour. Maybe we should go to the Hokage manor and see if Naruto is there. We do have to give him back his ki after all, Hinata said shyly to Neji, who simply grunted in agreement. They told everyone else what they were doing, and everyone decided to come along. They made their way towards the Hokage manor only to discover chaos everywhere, as A and BU scrambled around looking for a missing Tsunade and Naruto. Everyone in their group felt their blood go cold at the word missing. Neji jumped up to the top of the giant manor and activated his bloodline limit. His eyes scanned the area, and then he saw them. But it was strange. There were 3 people there, and he could have sworn that the stranger looked like the 4th Hokage himself. Neji leaped down and told the group what he saw, and they immediately began to run towards training field number 5. Back with Naruto, Tsunade, and the 4th. Let us begin, my son, the man calmly stated, as he went into his fighting stance. Naruto got into his fighting stance just as his friends came into sight. They all looked at the strange man and gasped. He watched them blink several times. They were feeling exactly what he was feeling. This couldn't be his father. It just couldn't be. Time's up, the man yelled, as he waved his arm beckoning Naruto to come to him. Naruto gritted his teeth and ran towards the man. He threw a punch, and the man just simply dodged. Neji, Hinata, Tenten, Sasuke, Sakura, and Lee just stared in shock, as the battle raged with such a speed that only the ones with the bloodline eyes could keep up. I don't believe Naruto is losing. This man is just playing with him, Neji and Sasuke said together, which made the others gasp in surprise. And then, to confirm their fears, the stranger connected a kick to Naruto's midsection, which sent him flying into a tree. Naruto flipped onto his feet and took a fighting stance again, but the man simply held up his hand and told him that it was time to move on to the next stage of the fight. The rules for this part of the fight are simple. You can use any ninjutsu or you want, as long as it isn't. Remember that though this is a test of your strength, I will be fighting back, the man said, as he again got into his fighting stance. This is impossible. He moves way too quick for me to catch him with a normal. It seems I will have to infect his mind before I can inflict damage onto his body, Naruto thought to himself, as he got into his fighting stance. As well, this time however, Naruto beckoned for the man to come to him, and the man complied. The man came at him with incredible speed, but Naruto was ready. He put his hands together, and began to form these seals. Serpent, horse, dog, ram, bird. As he finished off these seals he yelled Nightmare Mirror no Jutsu. The man was suddenly sucked out of training field 5, and was in a black room. He looked around slowly, and his eyes fell upon a mirror in the middle of the room. He walked towards it, and looked in the mirror to see Kohona. He looked closer, and suddenly the village burst into flames. The man watched in horror, as people tried to run away only to be slain by giant tails. The view in the mirror panned up to show the Kyubi in its original state, killing everyone in his path, and this time there was no one left to stop him. Suddenly the giant demon turned its eyes towards him, and whispered out suffering before he could even react. 2 massive paws came out of the mirror, and began to scratch his entire body. They ended their assault by sinking one paw into his heart and the other into his stomach. At that exact moment the man was flung back to training field number 5 where he fell on his knees and emptied his stomach. It was amazing. It made him feel pain though it was just an illusion, and it was all perfected to look completely real. There wasn't a glitch in the entire attack, which made it that much more amazing because to create an illusion flawlessly took a great amount of control and skill. The man, however, didn't have much time to relax and think, because Naruto zipped up behind him and began to do hand seals again. This time he yelled out Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and about 50 clones appeared behind him. The man gasped in shock, but quickly recovered by leaping into the air and landing on a tree branch. Now it was time to mount an offense of his own before he got overrun by the clones. The man began to create hand seals himself that went as follows: tiger, serpent, horse, ram, boar, dragon. After he completed his seals he yelled out Fire Rain no Jutsu. Fire began to fall from the sky, and it landed down crushing the clones under its waking force. The man scowled when he thought about the foolish thing he had done. Now everyone in the village will have seen the attack, and A and B would be flooding in from every direction. Due to his mistake, time was up, and it was time to shove this battle into its end game. Naruto, you have made me proud of my son, but now it is time to end this battle. We are each allowed to use one. This will end it all. Mine will be the Rasengan, the man said simply, as he created the glowing orb in his hands. Time to show me what you have, my son. Naruto thought for a moment before speaking. As much as I would love to put your Rasengan to the test against mine, I know for a fact that yours would win. So here goes something else. Naruto once again began to create the following hand seals: rat, ox, monkey, boar, tiger, hare, horse, dog, dragon. He yelled out Fire Haze no, and an eerie red mist seeped out of the boy's body which brought him to his knees. I guess I should explain. Kyubi taught me this one. This jutsu is a very dangerous one because it causes almost all of the user's body heat and chakra to be dispersed into the surrounding area. The jutsu mixes the body heat and chakra together to form the haze before you. The reason this attack is so powerful is because it is a powder keg. One little drop of blood against the haze, and boom, the haze will explode into flames and take everything in its path with it, Naruto said, shaking from head to toe from the coldness that had taken over his body. Admit your defeat. There is nothing you can do to escape, Father Naruto said with a grin and tears in his eyes. The man looked around him to see the haze stretching out a very far distance. He knew his limits, and knew that he would never be able to get out of the haze before it engulfed him in its flames. He smiled. Not only had his son just defeated him in battle, but now his son believed him, and he could tell him all about himself and his mother. Or so he hoped. You win, son, the battle is over. I have many things that we need to discuss, the man said. Naruto grinned and fell flat on his face. The man gasped in surprise and ran to his son, but was beaten by a girl with white eyes. Naruto, Naruto, please wake up. Naruto, the girl screamed out in a panic as she scooped him up into her arms and began to rub his body furiously, trying to get it warm again. Tears began to fall down her face as she looked up into the man's eyes with a horrible fury in hers. If Naruto dies, I will tear you limb from limb, the girl screamed at the man who had a shocked look on his face. The girl buried her head into the boy's chest and began to sob horribly. The rest of the crew arrived on the scene, and they all huddled around their fallen friend, trying to get him warm again. While this was going on, Tsunade had walked up to the fourth and whispered something into his ear. The man looked at her and nodded before he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Just as he disappeared, the ANBU arrived on the scene, and Tsunade began to bark out orders for the guards to get Naruto to the hospital immediately. The guards had to practically pry the boy away from the group, and, as soon as they had him, they raced off towards the hospital. As soon as the guards were gone, the man walked back up, and Neji, Hinata, Tenten, Sasuke, Sakura, and Lee took fighting stances ready to beat this man to death for hurting Naruto. They were all about to rush the man when Tsunade ordered them to stop. They all looked at her like she had gone mad, so she took a deep breath and explained the situation to them. She informed them all that the fourth only had a few hours left before the jutsu wore off, and that he needed the chance to speak with his son. They all agreed and set off towards the hospital, but not before the fourth used Henge to transform himself into a normal-looking boy to fit in with everyone else. It only took them 10 minutes to reach the hospital, and they all walked in. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.